Donald Trump Jr. made a big splash this weekend, tweeting that he trusts podcast host, comedian, and MMA commentator Joe Rogan more than he trusts Dr. Anthony Fauci, who heads up the NIH, is the top infectious disease doctor in the United States, has spent his career working on infectious disease. Now, of course, this comes at no surprise that Junior trusts Rogan more than Fauci. Not shocking. But sadly, it's emblematic of a bigger problem in the United States. And you might say, yeah, David, it's called stupidity. Yeah, I know. But I'm going to speak a little more specifically. When it comes to authority and expertise, there is now a particular problem in the United States. There is a logical fallacy called the appeal to authority. Appeal to authority is a fallacy where one claims something must be true because it comes from someone believed to be an authority on that subject. Now, you might say, well, authorities on subjects are more trustworthy. That's exactly the point, and I'm going to get to that. As I've said before, a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. And now that these radical zealots heard about the appeal to authority fallacy, or they might not even know that's what it's called, but just experts don't know everything, okay? They are often quick to say, experts, schmexperts, that's an appeal to authority fallacy. Now, of course, there are two important details about the appeal to authority fallacy. First of all, it's only a fallacy if you claim that something must be true only on the basis of a certain person saying it. Then it is a fallacy. It might still be true, but it is the fallacy. Secondly, if someone is actually an authority on the subject matter, it's not a fallacy unless, again, it's the idea that only on that basis of it being believed that someone is an expert. So given, to put it a way that makes more sense, given two competing hypotheses about some phenomenon, one from an actual expert, a real expert, and one from a layperson, absent some specific reason, an evidentiary reason, to believe the expert is wrong, erring on the side of thinking the actual expert may be the one who's right here is not a fallacy. That's different than the appeal to authority fallacy. And this is unfortunately incredibly common right now on COVID. The actual experts are written off by a misunderstanding of this fallacy. Now, there's another problem here. The same ignorant people who misunderstand this fallacy will often reverse it. And they will end up saying, this doctor has the right view on COVID, and it's a doctor, so you've got to trust them. And then you'll look and it'll be like Scott Atlas, a radiologist who knows nothing about infectious disease, or it's a chiropractor, which it's a type of doctor, but it's not an MD, and it's certainly not an expert in infectious disease. So that's one layer to this. Before I get to the other layer, it is ironic, maybe more like disgusting, that the right loves to criticize when they know what it's called. The right loves to criticize the postmodern attitudes of some on the left, that everyone's opinion is valid, all perspectives must be allowed, and on and on. Something I disagree with, but the right loves to caricature all the left as believing that. And here they are doing a version of it, which is saying, well, you've got an infectious disease doctor. Okay, well, that's one thing. And then you've got, I don't know, a podcast host. That's another. It is valid for me to say, I trust the comedian more than I trust the doctor. Now, of course, Don Jr. is allowed to say it. But when they say there's an empirical reality, and that's what's so wrong with this perspective on the left, this postmodernist perspective of it's all valid, listen. Well, if you're going to be critical of that, then you have to be able to look inward and say, I'm kind of doing the same thing here when I say, no. We must allow Rogan's view to be just as valid from an evidentiary standpoint as Dr. Fauci's. They will never look within themselves. They will never do that. Now let's get to the second kind of problem here. The same ignorant people who, so we've talked about layer one, which is Junior says he trusts Rogan more than Fauci. Okay, so that's like one layer. The same false authority applies to Don Jr. weighing in on this. And what I mean by that is there are people in this country who will also trust Joe Rogan over Fauci because Don Jr. said it. Okay, so this is like a second layer. It's like concatenated expert confusion, or like Russian dolls, those matryoshka dolls, one goes inside the other, of expertise confusion. Don Jr. misanalyzes the expertise of Rogan versus Fauci on COVID, and then others in turn misanalyze Don Jr.'s expertise on identifying who's more trustworthy on COVID. And that's where it really gets ugly. So to make an analogy, imagine, I don't know, see, he would never do this, but imagine Sam Cedar said, I trust Pacman more than Rogan on MMA. Well, Sam misunderstanding expertise because I don't know a damn thing about MMA and Joe Rogan does. But then trusting Sam to ascertain whether I or Joe Rogan know more about MMA is that second layer, and that's what we're talking about. And unfortunately, the Trump family looked upon almost like deities by many in this country, and they are immediately taken to the idea that, well, if Don Jr. has assessed that Rogan is more trustworthy than Fauci, then that's good enough for me. You get it. Bottom line is, we're in real trouble. That's essentially the takeaway here.
There are so many interesting new types of assets in which you can invest at this point. There are sneakers, there's wine, there's artwork, and so many others. But the big question is, which of these make sense as investments? And that's why I am such a big fan of Alternative Assets, which is one of our sponsors. Alternative Assets is a newsletter. It's a newsletter that will help demystify these different investment markets, whether you're talking about video games or sports cards, music rights, comic books, and the like. Alternative Assets is doing the analysis about each of these different asset types. They do extremely deep research and give very valuable insights into them. But Alternative Assets is not just about information. It's also about results, and they have recommendations with an excellent track record, which you can check out and learn more about on their website. Ton of smart new ways to diversify right now. It really is a different era when it comes to investing, and Alternative Assets makes it very, very easy to understand. Go and sign up for free. The link is down below.